From California, Mr. Rohrabacher is recognized.
So we have one person telling us that this is all based on one study, and we have another witness telling us that there are thousands of studies that indicate this. Could you name a few studies, Ms. Craft, about that have actually been accepted by the EPA administrator as being legitimate studies that went into this decision?
In the integrated science assessment that EPA derived, they include all of the studies that they had looked at.
Could you name me a couple of the studies that it is my understanding that the EPA administrator has said that there are thousands of studies that have happened on this, but none that can be trusted. Maybe you could name us 2 or 3 other studies that have been trusted that would be accepted by the EPA administrator on this.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure what you mean by trusted. I mean, the EPA looked at all of the available studies. So, for example, Jarrett et al., 2009.
Okay, so you're saying, say it again now. You're giving us a specific now, because I'm going to want your Dr. Honeycutt's response to this. So there was what study you're talking about now, specifically?
Well, I guess is the question, what are some of the studies that EPA examined as part of their integrated science assessment?
No. Which ones were accepted by the EPA administrator as being specific to this decision? It says we're being told by Mr. Honeycutt that that there's only one study, and that we're naming it now, that specifically justified these EPA rules. You're telling us that the EPA used as an example of this is why we're putting this new rule out, and you're saying that there are thousands of other studies. Could you name us several that the EPA has cited as reasons for their decision?
I guess the question is about EPA relying on only one study. And I guess my opinion is that that is a mischaracterization, and I'm not sure where that is characterized.
Well, maybe you can tell us the name of 3 or 4 studies then. You're saying there are thousands of them that the EPA has used to justify this change.
They've looked at
I'm not
a
saying,
lot of
no.
studies.
What have they said? This is what justifies our change, not that here's an amorphous over here. We've looked at thousands of things for and against, because for all we know, maybe half of them they believe were against what they have decided on. What 2 or 3 studies? This guy's saying that there's only one. You're saying there are thousands. Give us 2 or 3 studies that the EPA has used to back up this change in regulation.
The Jarrett et al. 2009 study, the Kim et al. 2011 study, the Steeland study.
Now
I can name a lot of Ozone
studies. Okay, you've just named 3, is that
right.
correct? Okay, now, go for it. Mr. Honeycutt, why you said there's only one?
Actually, the Kim study did not find effects. Well, it found significant decrease in FEV1, a 1.8% decrease at 60 parts per billion, but by nobody's definition is that an adverse effect. Not the American Thoracic Association societies, not by EPA's, by nobody's.
Okay, so you're just saying that there has only been one study that shows
the Schlegel
an
study.
Actual detrimental impact, but...
Well, it depends on your definition. Okay, by EPA's definition, it's not unless you pick out the 6 people. So,
so
the previous standard was set based on epidemiology data. This one, they switched it and based it on the clinical data.
Okay.
And KSAC spent a whole day talking about this one study, where they should set this, how the phraseology they should use.
But I want to get back to the one we've just given an example, and you say that one did not.
Jarrett 2009.
And that did not justify.
That is the only long-term study out of 12 that found associations with ozone.
Oh, no, yeah, but we just had, what was the other? I'm sorry, I'm new to this. I'm a novice on these specific studies now.
I actually
We
have
two
the studies
experts.
right here. I can share them with you.
So you have, Dr. Craft, you have the specific study, you just mentioned 3 studies, is that correct? To us?
Yeah, I mentioned 3, yes.
Okay. And you're saying those 3 do not indicate that, and have not been, meet the EPA's justification for these.
Well, there's different
Standard
things,
change.
okay? There's the single study at which they used to say 72 is the number.
Yeah.
Okay? And then they said, well, all these other thousands of study support that.
Okay.
But there is one study that EPA says, okay, this is the reason we're going to set it at 72. And KSAC spent a whole day talking about that one study. I watched it.
But the other studies do indicate that, that would
The Kim study doesn't.
does not. Okay, you're saying that this study does, and you're saying,
And actually, the Jarrett study does not either.
but please, go right.
Well,
The
I guess
gen-
I
the-
just wanted to mention that these studies were done in perfectly healthy individuals. So the fact is that the Clean Air Act requires that you set a standard that's requisite with an adequate margin of safety. And so that is one of the issues. So maybe a 1.8% decrement in lung function in a perfectly healthy person is not considered an adverse health effect. But if someone has asthma or COPD, then in fact it is.
But that's your opinion and not EPA.
Gentleman's time has expired. Thank you, Mr. Rohrabacher.
Thank you.